We're about 4 months removed from the AFC Championship game in which the Patriots were accused of deflating footballs that led to this whole Deflategate. And the NFL has finally completed their investigation via Ted Wells. And in the Ted Wells report that was 247 pages, it didn't really give us anything definitive. All it gave us was, quote unquote, Tom Brady was generally aware of the deflation of footballs, but nothing definitive. And that leads us to here and now, in which the NFL has handed down a 4-game suspension to Tom Brady, docked the Patriots a first-round draft pick next year and a 4th-round draft pick in 2017, and also fined them $1 million. Now, one could argue that that penalty is a little bit excessive. And on top of that, in Ted Wells' report, he exonerated the Patriots organization as a whole. So my question is, why were the Patriots fined? Why were they docked draft picks? Man, oh man, Roger Goodell and his power struggle. Welcome back to the Best Damn Sports Blog. Back again, this time to update Deflategate, because the NFL has finally come down with their suspension/punishment for the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. Brady will be missing for 4 games for the Patriots, and also the Pats were docked a first-round draft pick next year, a 4th in 2017, and then also fined $1 million for this whole Deflategate issue. And on the surface, when I first heard the punishment, I was fine with it. I'm a Patriots fan on top of that, but I was fine with it. But then when I thought about it a little more and I let it sink in, and I go back to the Ted Wells report, there is nothing in the Ted Wells report that ties the Patriots to any of the wrongdoings. So for them to be docked a first-round draft pick, which is huge, a first-round pick next year, I think is over excessive, as well as the Patriots being fined $1 million. We all know that this is Roger Goodell putting his foot down, trying to show the other 31 owners that, hey, me and Robert Kraft just aren't good friends. I will bring the hammer down on him as well when it is necessary, although I'm not very sure it is necessary. In the Ted Wells report, no implication of the Patriots. So we know that this punishment handed down for the Patriots has to do with Spygate. And I think that's completely unfair, because the NFL's investigation did not find proof that the Patriots did any wrongdoings. Therefore, why should they be docked a first-round draft pick? Do you know how important that is to NFL franchises, their first-round draft pick? That is a huge loss for the Patriots. And now, when I think about Tom Brady as well and his whole role in this, while I'm okay with his suspension, although I think it is a little bit excessive, I would have gave him a 2-game suspension, but I think with the Patriots appealing and Tom Brady appealing, that it will be brought down to 2 games, which I think is fair. But the reason that I am okay with Tom Brady being suspended is because he did nothing to prove his innocence. When he had that interview with Jim Gray, he was sort of nonchalant about the whole issue, talking about it had been 31 hours and he hadn't had time to digest it. When he asked him, does he feel like the Super Bowl was tainted, Tom Brady asked the fans, well, what do you think? Sort of in a grandstanding fashion. And I can understand the NFL not liking that. And also, he did not turn over his cell phone, which I would not do during the NFL's investigation. So although I understand why Brady didn't turn over his cell phone, the fact that he didn't help the league come to a solution about this, I can understand him being suspended. And as a Patriots fan, I have no problem with it. Like I said, the 4 games I think is a little excessive, but hopefully with the appeals process, it will be brought down to 2, which I think is just the right amount. Because when you think about it, how much of an advantage does a slightly deflated football really give Tom Brady? The problem is, there isn't a definitive answer to that question at all. Now, there's subjective answers that you can come up with, but there is no definitive scientific answer to that question. And what also kills me is, on a Fox telecast, the announcers were speaking on how Aaron Rodgers purposely overinflates footballs because he likes it for his grip purposes. But somehow that doesn't matter. This was spoken on an NFL telecast, and nobody cares. And what I want to understand is, because when I bring this argument up to people, they say, well, it's overinflated. Well, if the NFL has an inflation rule for it cannot be under this amount and it cannot be over that amount, what is the difference between it being over and under? They're both illegal. So the fact that Aaron Rodgers is allowed to use illegal footballs and Tom Brady isn't makes me scratch my head, and it makes me think this is more about the Patriots and Tom Brady than it is about fairness and the integrity of the game. And like I said, I had no problem with the suspension. I think it's a little excessive, but even if it stays at 4 games, I have no problem with it. Brady did not cooperate with the NFL, and he also puts the integrity of the NFL in jeopardy to some fans, and they cannot allow that to happen on their watch. So I don't have any problem with it. What I have a problem with is the fans and the selective outrage they choose to display. The Falcons, they piped in fake crowd noise during their home games. Nobody cares about it. Nobody spoke about it. But had that been the Patriots, oh man, we would have never heard the end of it. We would have heard about how piping in crowd noise is this huge advantage and how the Patriots are cheaters and all this BS. But somehow, when the Falcons do it, it just get wiped under the rug and it's no big problem. Now, I'm a Patriots fan, but never am I here to support cheating. I'm against all cheating. What my point is, every time someone cheats, let that be a problem. Don't just select when is it a problem. When it's Tom Brady and the Patriots, it seems to only be the time anything is a problem. And to the NFL and Roger Goodell, how did you all come to the conclusion for this suspension and punishment for the Patriots? Were you all just picking out of a hat? You put in about 100 different scenarios, put them in a hat and pulled it out. A first round pick next year, a 4th round pick in 2017. How does that make any sense? What is that really doing? I don't understand a first round next year, but a 4th round in 2017. Roger Goodell continues to make up things as he goes. And we know his punishments are based around what he thinks the reaction of the fans will be. So he wanted to come hard with this. He also wanted to let the other owners know, hey, me and Robert Kraft, yes, we're friends, but I'll bring the hammer down if I have to. I mean, just think about it. Ray Rice got 2 games. Then when he seen the public backlash, now he was suspended indefinitely. The Greg Hardy thing was played out all wrong, as well as Adrian Peterson. It's just when can we get some consistency with the punishments in the NFL? That is what I object to most. But also, when you think about Tom Brady's punishment, I'm wondering if the NFL looked at the schedule and seen, hey, after 4 games, the Patriots play the Colts. Let's let them come back for that game. Sunday Night Football? A coincidence? No, maybe so. This is just stupid from the NFL. The Wells report didn't even definitively say Tom Brady was guilty of any wrongdoings. It just gives you circumstantial evidence, which, yes, people are prosecuted on. But to then call Tom Brady a cheater and now question his whole career, I think that is a little bit blasphemous. Just look how he handled the Seahawks in the Super Bowl with properly inflated footballs. Yes, it is factual that we don't know how long this is going on. But it also is factual that we don't know how much of a benefit this really is for Tom Brady. I think it was more mental than anything with the deflation of footballs. And Tom Brady, he deserves to be punished. I thought 2 games was fair enough. 4 games, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I would like him to appeal and see if he can get that dropped to 2 games, because we do not have anything definitive. Yes, circumstantial evidence can get you prosecuted in the court of law, but this isn't the court of law. And expect the Patriots to go full-fledged into fight mode with the NFL over this punishment. They are not going to stand for this, and Tom Brady's agent already spoke that he is going to appeal his suspension, which I have no problem with. This turned into something way bigger than it should have been. There are other NFL quarterbacks such as Brad Johnson who said he used to tamper with football. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers overinflates footballs. This is something that all quarterbacks do in some form or fashion. Sometimes it might not be under the limit. Sometimes it may be. Let's not act like people don't straddle the lines. And like I said, I have no problem with Brady being punished. But to now consider him a cheat and that all his career achievements are now tainted, my reply to that would be, you must have been a Tom Brady / Patriots hater the whole way. Now that this news has come out, it's music to your ears, and now you have something to point at that you can hold against Tom Brady, which is fine. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady is still the greatest quarterback of this generation and possibly the greatest quarterback of all time. And as a proud member of Pat's Nation, all I got to say as I leave this podcast is they hate us because they ain't us.